Greetings! It is I, Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on Pathfinder role-playing game system. Today we're starting a new section, Magic Items. So, magic items are powerful tools that both your heroes and your villains will be using to accomplish their various goals. They can take many forms and have many different types of them. But there are some unique, interesting versions of them. They could be cursed. They could be intelligent. They could, of course, have various levels of power. They can get so rare and so powerful that they're beyond something of the grasp of your characters to even think about even making, let alone finding very easily. And then they're artifacts. Artifacts themselves come in multiple varieties. You can have a minor artifact, which is indeed very powerful, but in and of itself is not unique. Or you can have a major artifact, which is, to a degree, much more powerful and is unique. There is only one of the majors. Now you can use Detect Magic to find information out about a magic item. This is going to tell you the power of the auras on it, basically how powerful it is, and the schools. If this is specifically a potion, scroll, or wand, you're going to know the spell associated with it. Everything else, depending on the actual magic item, will tell you this bits of information. If it has multiple spells on it, then you're only going to know the highest level spell, what that power is, what that school is. If there is no spell associated with this magic item, then you're going to have to use the chart that is in the book to tell you what school of magic is appropriate to that type of magic item. You can look there and see what it would be. Now let's talk about using these magic items. This could be as simple as putting a ring on a finger, or it could be as complex as needing some kind of action or some kind of word in order to activate it. Very often, most times that you're activating a magic item, it will not provoke an attack of opportunity, regardless of what it is. Default, you're going to usually be looking at it be a standard action to activate it also. Something like a spell completion item, that will both still be a standard action and provoke an attack of opportunity, the exception to this. Now it's always going to be a standard action unless the item itself says it's something different. The item itself will tell you what it is. If you are involved with a spell with this magic item, then you're going to actually assume for the default it's the casting time of that spell, should it be more than a standard action. Again, unless the description of the item says differently. If it's supposed to take 10 minutes to cast this, and your item says it takes you a standard action, then it's the standard action. If it doesn't say, guess how long it's going to take. Now there are 4 ways to activate magic items. Spell completion is effectively completing a spell. You're casting a spell with this. This is usually a scroll. You have some kind of item, which most of the prep work of the spell is completed within the item, but it still isn't finished. You require some kind of gesture, some kind of words in order to finish and cast this spell. This will require you to be of appropriate spellcasting class that can cast the spell, and of appropriate level in order to cast the spell. If neither of these things are met, you're going to start getting complications which can cause problems. This will be a standard action that will provoke an attack of opportunity to use this version of a magic item. Now, spell trigger is easier than a spell completion. Effectively, it's boiled down everything related to this down to a single word, so that you only have to say one thing in order for to activate this spell here. So we've made it even easier than it was before. This is still going to be a standard action, but at this point in time, you don't provoke an attack of opportunity for a spell trigger. It's still going to require to have the appropriate knowledges matching the spell and the information in this in order to use it correctly. If not, you might also, again, screw up and cause problems. So again, this is one that's based around information that you're going to need, based upon the spell. The spell that's going to trigger, that you're going to be doing, is the key to everything. Now, command word is just that. It's a magic item that is activated with a single command word. Something that I say which causes it to take effect. This is also a standard normally and does not provoke an attack of opportunity. This command word could be something complex or unusual or archaic, or it could be something incredibly simple. Traditionally, they go for archaic, strange, unusual words just because that way you're not normally going to accidentally activate the item by saying that word. If it's a common word, you might say it in everyday speech and activate it when you don't want it to activate, which can cause a lot of problems for you. Hence why weird, complex words actually are better in the long run. This technically requires no special knowledges to activate. You still have to learn the command word, but once you know that, anybody that knows the command word can activate this magic item if they're using it. Anyone that knows it. That's the only knowledge you need, is that exact word. Now, oftentimes, an item like this might have that word somehow hidden on it, whether in, like, directly written on it or in some kind of code. You might have to use Knowledge Arcana or Knowledge History to decipher the information on here and get the clues you need to figure out the command word. Another way is to either use Detect Magic, Identify, or Analyze Duomer. If you've successfully analyzed this magic item and learned everything you can with any one of these spells, you actually are able to learn the command word that goes along with it. So even Detect Magic can give you at least the command word. You're not going to know exactly what it does, but you'll know the school and power level of it, and the word to activate it. So hey, experiment time. Now, use activated item is basically the simplest of them all. It's activated by the use. This could be drinking a potion, swinging a sword, wearing a ring or a cape. Any of these basic activities activates this. Now, granted, this doesn't, you're just using it and activating. Sometimes there might be some kind of trigger that's related to this to actually activate it. Rather than just I wear it, I get something out of it. This could be something like command word, which does happen. Or it could even be a mental action where you just have to think and all of a sudden it activates. Like you're wearing a certain type of ring that's not on all the time, but you want to turn it on. Maybe it's a ring of invisibility and you want to go invisible. Boop! You're invisible right then and there. You activated it. Now, of course, the description of the item itself will give you any kind of information related to this, but you're normally going to assume it's also going to be a standard action that does not provoke an attack of opportunity, unless the activity that is related to the use of this item itself causes an attack of opportunity. If it's like some kind of item that you use it to activate it, and of course using it provokes the attack of opportunity, well, that's where you're getting it. It's not the I activate the magic on it, it's the I'm using the actual item which provokes. Now, as I said, traditionally it's a standard action, though again, the description will let you know if there's more to it that needs to be activated. Unless it is a continually active item that requires no mental thought and no actual key command word, those are fine. You're just going to be able to use those right away. Otherwise, you at least have to have a basic knowledge of what it does in order to successfully activate it. The command word is a little different, just the mental action. You have to know what you're turning on when you're thinking about activating this item if it's mental based. You have to know what you're doing, or it's not going to work. The command word, again, it's usually there's a connection like that to there that you're going to at least have to know what's going on in order to use it properly. So that's it for today. I introduced you to magic items. I talked about the basics of what are magic items within the Pathfinder game system. I talked about some of the types of them and moved on to understanding them a little more, and especially talked about activating them. The 4 types of activation. The spell completion, which effectively that's what you're doing. You're completing a spell, and it functions much the same as spellcasting. The spell trigger, which again, you're still effectively casting a spell, but you're triggering it a lot easier and a lot safer. The command word, where anyone can do it, not just a spellcaster. You just have to know the right word. And the use activated, which could be something that needs you to think the right thoughts in order for it to activate, or it could be just something like a sword where you swing it and it does its job. That's it, you swing it, does its job. Magic sword, pointy part goes in, guts of the bad guy come out. Simple as that. In the next episode, we're going to dive deeper into the magic items, talk about damaging them, saves for them, and especially talk about the different types of magic items you can get. But if you have any questions, comments, anything you would say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's just support the channel, the empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you could always check out my Patreon, link description below. Regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.